So I have ace king suited here, and the flop is pretty bad for my hand to say the least. It's all spades. I don't have any spades. I don't really see any need to bet this flop. Again, I have a hand that has some value, so maybe I can just check it down. When he does bet the turn, there's a lot of hands that I could beat that he could be betting to try to bet on the come, or however they say it, where he's got a spade or some kind of draw where he's trying to see if he can get me to fold, but also he has some outs if he does get called. So once he bets the turn here, I'm going to see another card for sure. And on the river, that's actually not too bad of a river. And I actually did consider calling this. It was a little bit. If it was a little bit smaller of a bet, I'd probably consider calling it. When he bets almost the pot there on the river, though, it's a pretty easy fold. Even though he could obviously be bluffing, and definitely seems like he's the player that's capable of bluffing. But I think it's better just to let it go. So we have the pocket threes here. We're going to see a flop out of position. Let's see if we can try to flop a set. Yeah, when he checks that flop, though, I'm going to go ahead and fire the turn. I have a gut shot, straight draw, and I just think that he's given up once he checks the flop, so I'm just going to bet the turn and take down the pot a good percentage of the time there. And even if he does call the turn, he could just have like an ace high type of hand where I actually am ahead, so it makes a lot of sense to bet the turn there. Seeing a limp fest developing here, and if you have noticed, Poker Devil is more than happy to go ahead and bump it up when he's got position, when there's all kinds of limping going on. Maybe we'll get to see his hand, but probably not. Got the king jack suited here. We've been seeing this guy limp a lot. We're just going to go ahead and ISO here in position. I'm going to go ahead and fire a c-bet on this flop. It looks like I have a hand like ace king or ace queen, and I just don't really know exactly what he's going to be limp calling with here pre-flop, but I think that a c-bet on this flop is going to take down the pot a good amount of the time, and it's definitely a profitable play. Especially since I have king jack, there's not really that many cards that I'm looking to come out with that are going to give my hand a lot of value here. So I don't really see the point in checking behind. So I bet the flop, and he calls pretty fast. And so the flush draw comes on the turn and gets there on the river, and I just decide to give up. Once he calls the flop, I just decide to give up, honestly. Like, he could have ace, he could have a medium pair, but whatever. So we see our good buddy over here, Sharebone 1, doubling up, and then we say goodbye and move on to another table. So we have a whole nother set of opponents here. Let's see. There are a few people that I do remember slightly from playing with in the past. Extravaganza, he is a good regular that plays a lot tighter style than many of the other regulars, I would say. But that being said, just because he plays tighter doesn't mean that he's not capable of making moves. Every good regular these days is capable of making some plays because you have to be. You can't just have a really tight style and have that as your only way of playing because it just doesn't work anymore these days. So he's definitely capable of making some moves. Breathe over here is a Hungarian player. He actually was in the top 10 on Pocket Fives probably a few months ago, maybe a year ago, I'm not really sure. He's given me all kinds of trouble though, and we'll definitely be getting involved in some pots with him later on because we do have a lot of history. I know that he thinks he can get away with all kinds of aggressive moves. He'll 3-bet me tons, and he'll basically just he goes nuts. The guy is pretty crazy, but he's hard to play against because he knows what he's doing. So it's not like he's just crazy and there's no method to his mayhem, if you know what I'm saying. So we go ahead and raise the pot here under the gun with ace king, and we get aces the next hand. Easy game, easy game. Get a min raise here in the button. I'm just going to go ahead and pop it up a little bit. I could just see a flop there from the min raise. We would be playing heads up, so my hand's likely to end up holding up. But I would like to see if I can get a little bit more value and try to get some more chips in pre-flop with my hand because I am out of position. And he could end up hitting all kinds of flops there with whatever kind of hand that he's min-raising the button, and I don't want to end up getting myself into a lot of trouble since we are pretty deep stacked. Because it's really hard to fold aces these days, guys, with how crazy people are. Got ace-king here, and I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet again. We're going to be in position. So we can see that B-Fizz is going to be min-raising when he's opening, which is kind of actually become the standard these days. Oh, maybe not the standard, but it's become a lot more usual than it used to be. A lot of players are finding that just by min-raising they can take down the pot and without having to invest any more than just a min-raise. So if it works, go for it. I don't do it though. Postal Pete, actually, I recognize him as well because he does make the final table of this tournament. I've played with him a little bit in the past, and he has, I honestly, he's got a really, really weird style, is the best way I can put it. And he's actually pretty aggressive, but he does some really weird things that do not seem that profitable to me. But maybe it works for him. I don't know. He did make the final table. I'm not really sure how, but he did make the final table. And Butch DK is also a regular that plays a lot of more mid-stakes tournaments. So we're going to go ahead and see a flop there with pocket twos and basically just look to flop a set. And since we get a absolutely horrendous flop for pocket twos, we're obviously just going to go ahead and fold when he bets the pot. Don't really know that much about any of these other players at the table. Maybe we'll find something out in the next few orbits if we pay attention real close. Guess we'll just have to see. I wouldn't usually open this suited ace here up, but I am in the hijack, so it's good to mix it up too and keep people guessing and not just playing premium hands, especially when I have the stack to do it. Okay, so that's how he gets his first double up there. Aces against kings, or ace king.